Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of episode 7 of Wednesday, if you don't know me by now. So before I break down my review, just on a reminder, please, if you can subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. I'm reviewing every episode of this season. You can watch the ones I've already done or ones that are out or coming out. And this is meant to be a companion piece for when you're watching the episode, so please don't spoil the finale. We're only going to talk everything we've seen so far. I have only seen the first 7 so far, so we're doing it episode by episode. Please don't ruin the experience for everyone else here. So this episode was written like the first 2 episodes by the showrunners Alfred Goff and Miles Miller, but it's also written by Matt Lambert. And it was directed by, for the first time in this show, James Marshall. So the funeral scene at the beginning gave me a lot of Watchmen vibes, or even if we're going Netflix, Umbrella Academy vibe. In this show, I haven't even mentioned that yet, but it does have a lot of Umbrella Academy vibes going on in the look of it. But you see, Wednesday's got, again, some great lines here. I enjoy funerals. I've been crashing them since I was old enough to read the obituary section. That was great. But it was cool how they introduced Uncle Fester through this scene, because she's like, the killer will make a mistake and I will be ready. And it teases you like that person's watching them, but it just happens to be Uncle Fester. And we see it's played by the great Fred Armisen, who does an fantastic job as Uncle Fester. So she learns from Fester when she shows him the monster photo that it's a Hyde. Just like Jekyll and Hyde, that's where the name comes from. And he knew one, and he says it had it all: beauty, brains, and a penchant for necrophilia. But this leads to learning from Uncle Fester that Wednesday needs the Faulkner diary, the founder of Nevermore, to get this information about Hydes. And it's a great way to introduce a character like Uncle Fester. It doesn't feel forced in. There's a purpose to him. Wednesday learning things from him. And it also is going to have to do with seeing a softer side of Wednesday because of how strong their relationship is. And like he says in this episode, that Wednesday is his favorite. What is really strong and I like about this episode is with all the predictions I've been having about it being Thornhill, and then we get the big reveal at the episode that the monster is Tyler. They do a good job at explaining to the audience and really giving a lot of answers here, that this is someone leading the monster, and we got to find out who the ringleader is and who the monster is, and then you get that answer of Tyler at the end. But they make you think throughout the episode, like Wednesday does, that the monster is Xavier. It's a good misdirect, and that the ringleader here is Kinbot. But us being smart viewers these days, it's clearly Thornhill, not Kinbot. And obviously, as we know at the end, Tyler is the monster, not Xavier. Now, some great Uncle Fester moments. I love when he shows up to Wednesday after talking to Xavier in the library, and she's like, how long have you been lurking? And he says, long enough to feel the tension between you two. You could cut it with an executioner's axe. That was great. And I like to use Uncle Fester's electricity a lot in this episode. And we get a nice little cameo I didn't expect here. It's a portrait of Cousin It, and we learn in this show's universe, Cousin It's name is Ignatius It, or Iggy It, and he was Faulkner's right-hand man and trained nightshades. But behind that portrait is the diary of Faulkner. And this is where we get all this information about this monster and what a Hyde's all about, and they remain dormant until unlocked by a traumatic event or chemical inducement or hypnosis. So what's great about that is that it makes you think, as Wednesday thinks, that, okay, if you're thinking it's Xavier during this episode, that it was unlocked by hypnosis, clearly from the Dr. Kinbot, but you're getting the real information that you need, which is that traumatic event part. So I'm thinking we're going to find out when it's Thornhill that she took control of Tyler and made him a Hyde through whatever trauma happened with his mother. I love, too, when she's figuring all this out Wednesday, right on cue, Thornhill walks in, and the best part is Uncle Fester just disappearing so fast. And they also blended nicely that Wednesday, and this is a props to Jenna Ortega's performance, again, with how great she shows different emotions with her face, but she's informed that Enid is choosing to stay with Yoko for the rest of the year, which you really feel bad for Wednesday here, and deep down she's hurt tremendously by this. But they did a good job this whole episode rekindling Enid and Wednesday's relationship by the end of it, and evolving Wednesday as a character, as she'll even say later on. But I love Fester was just hiding in the stuffed animals, and he says, being a solo lobo has its perks. You get to live by your own rules, do whatever you want, just look at me. Anyone who's a fellow uncle will definitely appreciate this line and relate to it like I did. I will say, though, what did bother me was that was such a great comedic payoff in that scene when Fester left and hide, and then we got to see where he ended up in the stuffed animals. I was shocked that later on when he hides from the sheriff in the cafe that they didn't show where he hid. I was like, wait, we're missing the punchline to this one. Like, you just did it the other scene. Why didn't they do it there? That was strange to me. Would have missed opportunity. I also love the Dalmatian bike that Fester has stolen, that he has Wednesday and him go on while they're stalking Xavier. And I don't know if it just clicked for anyone, but visually for me, I don't know what it was, but Wednesday with that biker's helmet on, the glasses look just like Anakin on the pod racer. Now we see when they see Xavier with Kinbot, he says, I had a dream where you died. This is so important in so many ways because A, it's foreshadowing Kinbot's death in this episode, but it also explains why he had a picture of Kinbot with the monster claw over her. That was a dream he had, but it also is telling us that he has visions just like Wednesday, and they're accurate. So we see Wednesday is in denial about this being a date with Tyler at the crypt. She says she's just doing it because she feels bad he got him attacked by the monster, even though he is the monster. And I love this date at the crypt because Tyler does all the right things and what Wednesday would want. I love that scary movies for her are happy things like Legally Blonde. This is totally a shout out to, again, the great Addams Family film, The Addams Family's Value, where Christina Ricci's Wednesday is in the Happy Hut and they're playing all these Disney-like films, happy films, and that's horror for the character of Wednesday, so I'm happy they kept that up in this universe.
Don't worry, we're getting out of here.
But it's Disney.
But man, this is where I had complained about this in one of my earlier reviews, that I cannot understand. This is one of the most bizarre actor choices I've seen with Hunter Dewin putting on this deep voice for Tyler. It's taking me out of a lot of these important moments, like when he says, I want to be more than friends with her. I'm wondering the whole time, why is he putting on this deep voice? I don't get why he's not just being Hunter Dewin's voice there. It's throwing me off. It's so distracting because I know who Hunter Dewin is in real life and how he sounds, so I'm just like, I don't understand. This isn't bringing me into the character. It's taking me out of it. I don't know what it's adding. But see, when Wednesday's right about to kiss him, it's interrupted by the sheriff. I like that this will get payoff at the end, that they actually do kiss. She gets this happy moment. We get the big reveal at the end, which we're going to get to. But it's clever because then when she's gone, she comes back and her room's been raided. And this leads to possibly the best scene in the show yet, where she finds the diary stolen, but the more important thing, that thing had a knife through him. I never thought I would watch in my whole life a scene where I'm that emotional over a hand being resuscitated. That's what made it special. And what made it even more special was the first time we've seen Wednesday cry since we saw it in the flashback, which was set up brilliantly with her losing the scorpion pet and that she wouldn't do that again. And I love the line where she's like, if you die, I will kill you. And then the great line too where he survives, and when he's resuscitated, she says, who did this to you? And then she goes, knife from behind the back, coward. It's just hysterical thinking of that with a hand. And I love she gets this moment with him with the pinky together, and as she was crying, it was great to see they did that with Wednesday, and Jenna Ortega, just props to her in that scene. Powerful. Now, when Lucas and Bianca inform Wednesday that the mayor was starting to track down Laurel Gates after Outreach Day, Wednesday says he must have recognized her there. So if you go back to episode 3 on Outreach Day, there's a scene where the mayor says to Thornhill in the coffee shop, do I know you? You look familiar. And she makes as, oh, you just see me at the coffee shop every day. So clearly it's Thornhill. And knowing that, Thornhill, who was really Laurel Gates, brought her old house a year ago under an anagram name. And this is, again, what I had mentioned. My theory was that she was getting revenge for what happened to her brother and her family as a whole. Her family's misfortunes. That's why she's targeted the mayor, like they said, the coroner, Wednesday's parents, and Nevermore as a whole. And it's unfortunate that Wednesday's accusing Kinbot aggressively. It's the wrong person. And then, unfortunately, Kinbot gets killed by the monster, who we know now is Tyler. And knowing that it's Tyler, by the end, you look back, and again, Wednesday wrongly accuses Xavier here. And Thornhill, even, we see planted the victim's items in the shed to frame Xavier. I also like, too, they successfully did a nice, again, like I said, underlying story with Enid here, where she comes back to stay with Wednesday, wants to keep an eye on her and Thing, and she's like, we work when we shouldn't, but we do, which I love, because, again, it's hitting how different they are, but how much it makes them close in a sense and brings the best out in each other. And I love Wednesday says back, Things said he missed you. This is really Wednesday deep down saying she missed her, which I thought was great. So Wednesday goes to Tyler to finish that moment from the date, and her going to make the move to kiss Tyler is, like Wednesday says, this is her character evolving. But what's great is I love that when she gets this happy moment, when something terrible happens, she gets this vision of Tyler being the monster, this big reveal. And this great line, of course, the first boy I kissed would turn out to be a psychotic serial killing monster. So I love that line. I love that they didn't just make it this sappy moment, that with this character of Wednesday, you also have to have something dark and depressing and grim about it. If they keep that up, I think that's when it's going to work. Like getting a win for her, but also something tragic with it or some big reveal. I think that's the best way to go, and they're clearly doing that. So it's a great just capper to the episode. So overall, this episode to me was great. I'm giving it a 9. I thought Uncle Fester made it so much fun. They had that underlying story with Enid that was strong. It was just great getting answers in the mystery, and then it was a episode that you could follow along with Wednesday and think what she's thinking, or if you're really ahead of the game, you're knowing that it's Thornhill all along, and you're getting those confirmations here. So they did kind of target 2 types of audiences there, which I like. So it's enjoyable if you're ahead of it or behind it. I think that's really smart. And I thought that, of course, that thing scene with Wednesday was so earned with all the setup this season. So really enjoyed it and made me really excited for this final episode. So make sure to check out my finale review, which is next. And please subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps me. Share your comments below on this episode, what you thought of it. Please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.